Yeah, we're live.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we did
Oh,
it.
it's just been sprung on me. I see. All right.
So, hi everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Trans Talks. I'm your host, Sammie James, and we are back with another wonderful conversation with one of our trans faves.
Oh, that's me. Hello.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet to hear. I love to be a fave.
Yeah. We
Hi.
have comedian, podcaster, wonderful freaking person. Like,
Oh,
listen,
thank you.
trans faves, everyone is. Everyone on this show is, but like Dash Kwiatkowski, honestly,
Hello.
one of my favorite people.
Thank you, Sammie. That's so very sweet to hear.
Yeah.
Happy to be here. Happy as always to do. I always feel so bad because I'm always you always hit me up and you're like, can you do this day? And it's always a day where I'm like, I either have it fully free or I'm booked the entire time and I have to be like, hold on, I have to get back to you. And I always get back to
Yeah.
you. But this was a date that I had open, and I appreciate
Cool.
being invited. Happy to be here.
Yeah. First thing I ask is for you to introduce yourself a little bit more to the people. Anything that you think is relevant. I specifically ask, what words do you use to describe yourself? And that
Totally.
can be anything. It doesn't need to be gender or orientation. It can
Sure.
be. But besides that, anything else you want to give in an intro?
Yeah,
This is your time.
I'm a Asian American non-binary trans person. I'm a big baby idiot, and I would say in terms of like my identity, Asian American identity is really important to me. Non-binary trans identity is super important to me.
Mhm.
I use the word gay a lot just as a big huge catch-all because
Yeah.
that's a one that I'm a big fan of. Big fan of that word. This is like I've gotten more into it since we talked last, but I'm happy to call myself a paranormal investigator at this point. I've actually been getting
Nice.
out there talking to ghosts and stuff. We shot a pilot. We shot a pilot over the summer. Just waiting for that to get edited and cut and cut into something viewable and pitchable, and then
Yeah.
and then we'll be trying to get someone to put that on an
Yeah.
actual network of some sort.
Cool.
But yeah, so paranormal investigator now. That's the new one I've added to the
Nice.
list of things that I do.
All right. Can you talk about the pilot at all, or?
I can talk about the pilot a little bit. We went so it's sort of it is a queer focused paranormal investigation show.
Mhm.
Based in what I sort of perceive to be intrinsic connections between queer and marginalized and sort of specifically queer and trans identities and high strangeness.
Okay.
We went and we did some traveling. We went out to Tennessee to shoot it. I can't talk too much specifics. I will say
Oh, yeah.
that I sort of went into it thinking like, hey, because you never know if you're going to film anything real spooky because that's the nature of this stuff. And I went into it thinking like, I've got a lot of really cool interviews with local queer and trans people who are sort of involved in strangeness and magic and stuff like that. And I was like, even if nothing spooky happens, I'll at least get some real cool interviews. And I got some very cool interviews, and also the spookiest stuff in the world happened. Very cool. So I'm just very excited for people to be able to see
Nice.
what we went out into the woods to shoot.
Cool. Well, so you still doing the podcast?
Yes, yeah. So
cool.
we're still doing. We do Psychic Friends. It's me and Rosa Escondon, who is an amazing one of my best friends in the whole world. Very cool queer lady. We do our free psychic advice podcast where we are on Psychic Facebook, which a lot of people still don't know about Psychic Advice Facebook. I'm always happy to explain it. There's a whole a lot of people just think of Facebook as the bad nightmare website, which is true. I agree with that one. But one of the things about it that's cool is some of the groups. So a lot of Facebook is trash and there's no reason to be on it. I think the only reason I'm still on it is because like I have people in my life that I only communicate like with via Facebook Messenger chat, you being one of them. And so it's just too many people.
I'll give you my email. You can get off it.
Yeah. But I'm mainly on just to stay in touch with people that I've, met in my travels and people that I've met all over the country. But one of the things that makes it worthwhile is the groups. Now, Facebook groups, there are some groups. So like I'm in one. Let me see if I can find the name of it. Because this is maybe this is the best. This is not a psychic one. This is just a good group, but it is called Simply Garfield's group page. And it is a page of people who really like Garfield, but like absolutely very earnest and like die hard. Like people fucking love the lasagna cat and they're super into it. That's a great group. That's a really good one.
Nice.
But some of the other groups that I'm a big fan of are groups where people will log onto facebook.com and be like, hey, I think that my partner might be cheating on me. And the best way that I know how to solve this issue and figure it out is to ask a bunch of people online who claim to be psychics for free advice. And so there's a lot of people on these psychic advice Facebook groups that are just asking for advice on like, am I going to get this job promotion? Is my partner cheating on me? Does anyone here some sort of aquatic witch? Because I feel like my house has a demon in it and I would like to send it somewhere and I don't want to send it anywhere on the land. So I do want to send it into the sea. Was a cool one that we did a couple of episodes ago. So yes, free psychic advice Facebook is really good. And Rosa and I are just on there doing our best to give out advice and answer the questions as best as we can. Because, I don't know if either of us is explicitly psychic. Rosa does have precognitive dreams sometimes. That's a cool one.
Cool.
But I think a lot of the people on these groups giving advice anyway are also not psychic. So if they can answer some of these questions, why not us? Is sort of the premise of this show.
Cool. So I met you through stand-up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a weird time to do stand-up.
It sure is. Sure are a lot of people just kind of throwing caution to the wind and still doing it, huh? In the middle of...
And I am going to, listen, I apologize in advance anytime I'm talking to a comedian on this show. It's the question that, like, we all get, and I don't know, I don't like it.
Okay.
But, like, how'd you get into comedy?
How to get into, I actually have a pretty good and concise answer as to how I got into comedy. Concise is a lie, but I do have an answer. When I was very young, when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I always liked to perform. I was always performing. I was quoting sketches and comedy bits and stuff like that. And the first thing I did was I taught myself how to play guitar, and I played in a bunch of bands. And so I was playing in punk bands, and I was fronting bands, and that was great. And I loved that. And then when I got to college, I joined a couple of theater groups, and I was, performing, doing like scripted theater stuff. And I liked that. And then, but I'd always wanted to do stand up. And like when I was a person who at a party, someone would be like, oh, hey, tell this story, or tell the story about the time you did this, or tell this whatever story. And so I had all these like stories and things that I would sort of regularly tell. And someone was like, that's just stand up. You're just doing like, this is basically what it is. You're just telling stories. Like you tell the same story, whatever. And so I decided to try it. And I was going to do it on my birthday. And there was one open mic that like everyone knew where I was from. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to go to this thing. And then I had a nightmarish birthday where like my friend who I was living with, my roommate at the time, got alcohol poisoning the night before. And like I had to sit with this person in a hospital awake till like 9 a.m. Like all this crazy stuff happened where like my friend was like really fucked up, and the guy she was seeing at the time was like, oh, it's fine, she'll be fine. And I was like, hey, you want me to call someone? So I call someone, and like the firefighters came, like big buff firefighters came into our apartment, and were like, it's a good thing you called because this person would have died and all this stuff. And so I'm awake with this person till 9 a.m. on my birthday. And I'm like, all right, time to go try comedy for the first time. So it didn't go great, I would say, because I had stayed awake till 9 a.m. and then slept for a couple of hours and then like got up and went to go do it. It was fine. I didn't bomb for my first time. It was fine, but it was also just like not the enjoyable experience. It took me a whole year to be like, all right, we're gonna try it again. We're gonna try to do comedy for the first time on my birthday again. I'm gonna try it again. And I did the open mic, and it was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.
And I kind of just went from there. So I've been performing since I was a kid, and it just made sense for me and my personality to like, oh, I like doing this in a way where I'm just sort of reliant on myself, not like a band or a theater troupe or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I first did stand up on my birthday.
There you go.
I don't have all the other parts of that story.
Couple of real stand-up birthday babies.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is my favorite question to ask people.
All right.
What gives you gender euphoria?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about that, and I think so much is visual, right? And so much is sort of how we present ourselves and how much the world interacts with us. And it's interesting as someone who is not in the binary, right? There's I think for the answer might be different if I were a binary trans person, and it could be being gendered properly or something by the world around me. But it's hard, right? Because it's like, as a non-binary person, it's not like you're passing as anything, right? The whole concept of passing doesn't really apply, because what are you passing as? And also the idea that like there's this non-binary look, there isn't, right? There's there's nothing to sort of be like, clearly that's what that, it's a defined by a negative, right? The non-binary. So it's hard with visuals. I think the thing that gives me the most gender euphoria is just the sort of explicit interactions with people who I know don't perceive me as something that I'm not. And I think that's rare. And I think it's sort of specific to relationships and to partnerships and to people that I feel very close to, where I engage with someone and I know, because you'll engage with people who will use your right pronouns, but you can tell like they're thinking about it, and it takes them a second, and that's like that's not and it's better, sure, it's better than nothing, and it's better than the alternative, but it's also like it's a person who you can tell hasn't really done the work to decouple their brain from the concept of gender that I think a lot of cis people would need to do. And I think that's different than engaging with someone who perceives you in a way that is accurate to your being. I think that's sort of, I don't know if that's too generic of an answer, but I think it's those rare times, right? Where not those rare times, but those rare relationships where you can tell like this person like really sees me as, something I am. I think that's probably the biggest one for me. I don't know, is that a good answer? That might be a bad answer.
That's a wonderful answer. I think like, that's a wonderful answer. And I think like honestly, I think that like explains the feeling of gender euphoria really well.
Yeah. It's and obviously like, you try on a piece of clothing that pre-coming out would not have been accepted on you, or you wouldn't have even realized like this is something unaware. There's little moments here and there.
Wow.
You find a good makeup, you find a good nail polish you like, stuff like that. But I think the full euphoric stuff I think really is from person to person interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that question because there's so much focus, especially in like cis interactions with trans people, on dysphoria. I'm just like, no, we're not talking about that. Let's talk about the good one. Let's talk about the cool one.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into this is people on this show's favorite question to answer.
Okay.
What cis nonsense are you sick of?
So, I mean, the obvious one is I feel like there's a lot of obvious generic ones, like gendering everybody, gendering everything, all this stuff. There's sort of a lot of low-level stuff. So I don't even think we need to talk about. I don't even think we need to talk about like the obvious stuff. I think the cis nonsense that I've been thinking about the most lately falls into a category of queer content by enforced cishet people. And that's the one I think that's been getting under my skin the most. I'm a big comic book person. I like the comic books a lot.
Mhm.
And there's a cartoon called Young Justice that's good. It's a good show. I like it a lot. It's a fun show. It's like the sidekicks from DC Comics, and they're all doing their sidekick thing, but they're all unified, whatever. And this latest season has been trying really hard to do like a trans storyline, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it with aliens, which is so hacky and played out to begin with, the idea of like aliens as an expression. But so they do it. It's the thing with Miss Martian. And so if you don't know about the way the Mars politics works, is there are white Martians and there are green Martians. And white Martians are the marginalized people, and green Martians are the sort of the dominant. And then there's red ones too, and the red Martians are like royalty. And a big plot point, spoilers, of the first like season or two of Young Justice from years ago, is that Miss Martian is not actually a green Martian, but a white Martian. And she hid this because just, racial stuff on her planet. And so in the newest season, Miss Martian has like she's a white Martian, but she's also like sort of accepted this more humanoid form because they're shapeshifters. So she has this like humanoid form that's like a humanoid, but like white Martian colors. And there's a point when they're on Mars and she shifts into her white Martian form for a thing. And afterwards her mom is like, oh, I remember when you were a kid and you would change your skin to be green so you could try to pass amongst the green Martians. But now seeing you in this humanoid, like seeing you in your Martian form and then seeing you in your humanoid form, I psychically understand that even though the Martian form is the form you were assigned at birth, your real form. And it's just like, everything about this is so fucking cisgendered and straight. Like, I get it. And I understand the impulse to want to be like, all right, we're doing something important and we're telling a story that's going to resonate. I get it. And it's like, it's better than doing like an anti-trans story, but also just like, God, get a single trans person in your writing room. And it's me. It should be me. Get the trans person with Green Lantern and Red Lantern tattoos in your put me in your writing room. But no, like, consult with someone. I think that's the big one, is like writing trans stories, trying to write trans stories, trying to, do even just queer stories without talking to anyone. And you do this thing where it's like, if a single trans person in that writing room could have been like, oh, hey, the alien is trans metaphor is super played and that sucks, and don't do it because it's boring. And also just like, this is gross because like you're conflating the idea of racial passing with the idea of gender passing, which is also weird because those are like distinct things that exist and are like connected through, a lot of transphobia is rooted in white supremacy and racism, but like, let's not pretend that they're the same thing. And like, you gotta, so that's my cis bullshit thing that I'm tired of, is just like, trying to tell our stories without us. And I think it's funny because like as a counter to that, I started watching a show called Work in Progress. Have you seen this one yet?
No, I know.
Sammie, it's great. It's really good. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it, and I just my partner's mom was like, oh, I saw this show on a plane you might like. And so we're like, oh, sure, we'll check it out. And it's so good. And you can tell that, like, it's run by a queer person. And like the stuff, there's jokes on it. There are jokes in this show where I'm like, oh, yeah, no, like a trans person wrote that joke because cis people wouldn't have understood it. You know what I mean? Like, it just, you could tell there are queer people in the writing room. You can tell there are queer people, is a queer showrunner. I think the director is not, of the first season at least, one of the co-creators, but like the person who's like the titular, or not titular because her name's not in the thing, but Abby, the person the show is about, is also a showrunner, and she's great, and it's just great. It's a good show, and I recommend it highly. And it's a great example of queer and trans stories that are for queer and trans people that anyone can get into, I think, but is like, it's sort of the opposite of that Young Justice thing that I was complaining about.
Yeah. Going off that a little bit.
Sure.
Just a fun question about like comic book characters. It could be a comic book character. It can be not written that way. What's a trans headcanon you have?
Comic
Like,
books
what
or just
character? Like, they aren't
any
written
fictional
that way,
character?
but let
Sure,
me
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you,
yeah.
they're trans.
Any fictional character or comic book character?
Anything. And it's
Any fictional character. I think my favorite headcanon is Audrey and Seymour in Little Shop.
okay.
It's perfect. It's a lot of it fits in, and this is
Oh, it
even
really
outside
does.
of because I think MJ Rodriguez also played Audrey, which is
Yep.
amazing,
Yep. Yep.
and I love her, and that was incredible. But both characters, if you look at both just in terms of fashion, nobody's more transmask fashion than Seymour from Little Shop. There's a whole thing, even if you watch the movie where during Suddenly Seymour, Audrey like does stuff where she like pitches her voice higher and pitches her voice lower at different parts where like even makes sense. I don't know. I just like she's just like in my favorite headcanon is Audrey's like a cool tall trans chick and
Yeah.
Seymour is like this really sweet, well-intentioned trans guy, and they're like that's my favorite trans headcanon. I think it makes the
Nice.
most
No, I
sense.
like that. I like that. Mine is, listen, I have never written fan fiction. I know my queer
Okay.
cred just went
Sure.
just
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
plummeted.
Yeah. It's fine.
But like, if no one else is going to acknowledge Brainiac on Supergirl
Okay.
as
Yeah.
non-binary
Okay.
and ace,
Sure.
I'm just like, I guess I need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, a lot of characters.
That is a
interesting
T for
how,
T relationship. I'm sorry. It just is.
Absolutely. No, I think that's it. I think that's a great one, especially like, and it's so. I think it makes so much sense in terms of comic book characters too, because so many of
Yeah.
them deal in like terms of like such accentuations of like with the idea of like gender as performance, and there's so much of like super heroism and stuff that sort of that fits into that in a way that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, cool. So now we're gonna move into just fun questions.
Because those last questions have been so
Yeah, but just like I like
Sammy.
listen, I honestly, like, I don't mean it this way, but I like to think of this part of the show as like nonsense questions.
Okay, sure, yeah, let's get into it. Let's get some
But
nonsense on the table.
what's your comfort food, comfort
Okay.
music, comfort movie?
Okay, comfort movie is Labyrinth. It's always
Nice.
been, or it's not always, but it's been for a long time. Comfort music, I'll tell you, this is stuck with me for most of. So like, I mean, there's genres I could say, like I love listening to ska and I love listening to a lot of stuff. I gotta say it is Welcome to the Black Parade, or just that album, the Black Parade album by My Chemical Romance. Been with me through thick and thin. It's one of those ones where like you listen to it as a teenager and you're like, this rips, this is my whole soul, all this stuff, whatever. And then like, you're as you're an adult, you're like, oh yeah, it's music I used to like, blah blah blah. And then I tell you what, you go back in your 30s and you're like, does this hold up? And it fucking does. Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
All right.
Still incredible, start to finish, great album. Also, I will say the music that I was into as a kid in terms of like queer awakening, queer identity stuff, Gerard Way, absolutely a beautiful person who I definitely was like, oh damn, as a kid before I had thought about anything like that. Yeah, absolutely. Black Parade, incredible album, definitely comfort music. Comfort food, that's tricky because that changes all the time, and a lot of it's because like I love to cook. You follow me on social media,
Oh yeah.
that I do a lot of food stuff. We just did a pulled barbecue pulled pork
I saw it.
Benedict this morning. That was pretty fucking good. But I love a breakfast. I love a breakfast sort of food. I love like I love a Denny's chicken fried steak and eggs from a Denny's rips. Love Denny's, always love Denny's. But it changes because like it really is like what do I feel like making? Because like sometimes it's like a curry, sometimes it's a curry katsu.
Yeah.
Probably breakfast foods. Breakfast foods I think is more comfort. Is more comfort.
Let me ask. Are you a Brinner person? I'm a big.
Listen, I'll eat breakfast whenever. You can't listen. I'll eat breakfast. Any meal of the day, I'll eat a breakfast. Yeah, of course.
It's like anytime I go to a diner, it's just like I'm getting an omelet. It's like it's 8 p.m. I'm just like,
Doesn't matter. No, eat
it's a
whatever,
diner,
whenever.
though.
There's no fucking rules.
It's just like, you know what? Just for that, French toast.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur. I like, and this has changed a lot since I was, because I was a dinosaur kid. I was like a hardcore dinosaur kid. That was like my whole identity for a number of years. I was a dinosaur kid. I was like, and I was always like, and this is my mom's fault because she was like, "You're better than these people." Every time I would meet kids who were like a truck kid, I'd be like, "Truck kid? No, dinosaur stuff. Are you kidding me? What is trucks? What is this?" I was a real what is the word? I was a real pretentious little shit, and I was like, dinosaurs all the way. Dinosaurs better than whatever you like. I used to like the Pachycephalosaurus a lot. That's the dome head. That's the dome head one. Used to. I don't think it's that anymore. And I feel like Velociraptor, too played. Everyone loves a Velociraptor. You can thank Jurassic Park for that. T-Rex, same sort of thing. And I feel like people who's like, my favorite is T-Rex. I just feel like there's a lot of aggression in that. There's a lot of of posturing in that. I think it might be the Carnotaur, the Carnosaur, the one with the little horns, horns on it. That one I think is, you know what I mean? It's got some T-Rexy stuff. It's a little smaller.
Yeah.
A lot less to prove. The horns I like a lot. You've got some like devil stuff in there. Very cool. But I think that one might be my favorite one right now in my life. And again, this hard. It's hard to have one and lock into it, but I might be in this moment.
Yeah. Cool. I'm freaking Ankylosaurus. Like it just feels like seems like a chill friend. It's like, just hanging out. You cross a boundary, gonna whack you with its tail.
Yeah, got a real Warhammer ass, which is good. Ankylosaurus is very good. Absolutely. And what I like about that too is there's a lot of variations on it. There's a lot of like different ones with like different, like some of them have more like plate armor all across the back. That's a great choice. Did you see there was a new one that they just found, I think, where instead of I don't think it's an Ankylosaurus proper, but I think it's related. Where instead of like a big mallet, it's got like a big like sword.
Okay.
Like it has like a cool bone sword.
Okay. When you said this, my brain immediately was, does it have an axe tail? Is that what you're gonna tell me?
But kinda. Yeah. Basically.
That's where my brain went immediately.
Yeah, no.
I'm just like, oh my god, it has an axe tail.
Yeah, like an axe or a sword. Pretty sick. I definitely would look into that because that is new dinosaur just dropped. And
nice.
it does have a cool axe ass.
Nice. What is your favorite smell? This is my favorite question.
That's hard. That's a hard one, Sammy. That's a hard one. I think there's a very specific smell, and this is tying it back into another answer. But I love a breakfast smell. I love the smell of an assortment of breakfast foods being cooked.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's a perfect set of smells that like even if you weren't hungry, you're still like, am I hungry? Am I hungry? Do I want to eat something right now? And it's like the answer is yes, and it's the breakfast food. So yeah, breakfast foods.
Yep.
For sure, favorite smell.
Okay. This question, I couldn't not ask you this question on the show. Yeah. I know this answer, so I am gonna flip it on you.
Okay. Yeah.
Favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
Fully evolved. I know it's Squirtle. I know
it's right. It's Squirtle. I've actually so I don't know if you saw the Totodile I got, and then I got a Mudkip.
I love Mudkip. Mudkip.
Yeah, I'm doing a full water starters. Fully evolved Pokemon, and it's hard because I do love Squirtle and I like Blastoise. Blastoise is not my favorite.
Yeah, see, I was just like, I don't think Dash is gonna say Blastoise. That's why I'm just like, I want.
Yeah, it's not Blastoise. That's hard. And I'm for the question. I'm not counting ones that don't evolve. This is just. Ones that do evolve. So I'm not gonna pick like Dunsparce. Even though Dunsparce rips, don't get me wrong. Dunsparce is great. I feel like it's a little played to pick a starter, but I gotta because I do think my favorite starter evolved at the very least to even just start there is Greninja. I love Greninja. I love that cool frog. It's a very cool frog. Yeah, I think it might be Greninja. I'd have to think about it more to see if there's other evolved ones that I like more. I do think it might be Greninja.
Yeah.
Although if I'm letting myself pick ones that don't evolve but are not like a starter, right? Like Sableye, I adore. Sableye is great. Sableye, based on some high strangeness stuff. Sableye is based on the Hopkinsville Goblins, which I don't know if you know about. Hopkinsville
Yep.
had a UFO encounter where some UFOs landed, and then this family just got like basically tormented by goblins from this UFO, and like they shot at them and like made the local news and made like national news and all this stuff. So Sableye is a great one if we're talking ones that don't evolve because it's just a first stage only stage. Although there is a Mega Sableye, but I don't. Mega evolution is tricky in terms of like that's not traditional evolution. That's more of a Digimon thing. It's either Greninja or Sableye, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I had to, it's hard. These are hard ones to think about. It's hard picking between your kids,
You know what? I didn't plan this question.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with Pokemon. What's your favorite evolution?
Evolution is Sylveon. Easy. Sylveon's great. Shiny Sylveon, trans pride colors, perfect little fox thing.
Beautiful.
I love Sylveon a lot. I do think Glaceon is underrated. People don't show Glaceon the love that Glaceon deserves. And Leafeon too. Both of those from the same gen. Leafeon and Glaceon are great, but Sylveon far and away my favorite evolution.
Nice. Yeah, so we have two more things to get to.
Okay.
Final question I'm asking is, who are some trans folks you think are doing good work? And this can be in any department.
Yeah.
This can be
fully. Well, I mean, obviously, I think you're doing great. Big fan of you. Carta Monier is incredible. She is a comic artist.
Okay.
She runs, I think, Diskette Press is the name of her production house. Production house is certainly not the right publishing house. I don't know. Carta's wonderful. Carta Monier. You can find her on social media. She makes incredible comics. She's done some really, really cool in the last couple of years, like cool autobiographical comics, just stuff about being trans and existing. And she's just so talented and such a good artist. Actually, I'm literally wearing a shirt from Diskette Press that I bought from her.
Nice.
It says,
"Oh, I like that."
Bitch on patrol is what I'm trying not to show my tummy as I lift up this shirt. Carta's a delight. Just Tom, they are a stand-up comic who I'm sure you know. They're
fantastic,
really wonderful. Nyla Rose is a professional wrestler who I adore. Edith Surreal is a professional wrestler. She's trans. She's really incredible.
I don't know this person. Thank you.
Yeah, so Nyla Rose signed to AEW, is in a major promotion. Edith Surreal, she is on the Indies. She's just a spectacular wrestler. There's a wrestler named she goes by the Dark Sheik. She's out of the Bay Area. She's another incredible trans professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Who else?
Can I throw a professional wrestler in there just because you gave three?
Of course.
Been on this show before. Check out Paola Gonzalez wrestles under PJ the Whip Gonzalez.
Cool. I'm not familiar with PJ the Whip.
She was the NYCW. I don't know the
Sure.
She was a former champion in Upstate
Has been a champion in somewhere. Absolutely.
Keep going.
Great, yeah. I'm trying to think who else is sort of doing work in a way that I want to highlight. Someone's going to be like, why not me? And I'm going to be like, listen, I was on the spot.
Oh yeah.
Didn't prepare these answers ahead of time. That's what I got right now. Let me think about it a little bit more. And if I think of any by the end, I'll toss someone in there.
Yeah. So Dash, what do you have going on? Tell people where they can find you on social media.
Totally.
Anything else you want to tell them before we say goodbye?
Yeah, at Dash Kwiatkowski, which is I think on the screen right now. At Dash
Yeah, it
Kwiatkowski is
is.
my handle on all of social media. I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. It's just like YouTube/Dash Kwiatkowski. I do Pokemon content. As I do more paranormal stuff. I'm putting that on there as well. Outside of the show. Right now it's mostly just like me playing different Pokemon games and doing Pokemon content. But yeah, that's just, follow me on social media to know what I'm up to. Working on a bunch of cool projects, working on this, this ghost show that I'm pretty amped about. And yeah, I post everything. You know how my Twitter do. I post
Yeah,
all my stuff. But yeah, I think we're all just trying to figure out how to exist and how to perform. And stand up doesn't feel super safe to, like, at least for me, to jump into in a full way just
yeah,
yet. So I'm figuring out different ways of performing and keeping busy, keeping afloat.
yeah. Well, Dash, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Of
Always a
course.
delight.
Thank you for having me, Sammie. It's always very fun.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for watching. We will be back next week with another wonderful conversation with one of our trans faves. But until then, goodbye.